Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fight Song Sports Podcast. As always, my name is Ty Hansen. Joining me today, Bryson Lewis. Bryson, we got another very, very busy week of college athletics. I said it last episode. This is one of my favorite times of the year. It just seems like every sport's got something going on right now. You got softball, basketball hitting the peak of their season. You got spring football coming up, golf starting up. Just everything's going on right now. This is one of the best times of the year. So we'll try and touch on everything, but it's going to be a lot. But we got some news out of Nebraska here. A big signee that the football team was able to pick up. They're able to get Sam Sledge, 3-star interior offensive lineman. Not sure if he's going to play guard or center. We'll have to see once he shows up on campus. Obviously a 23 grad. He attends Creighton Prep in Omaha, obviously. Powerhouse athletics program there, and everybody knows who they are if you're from Nebraska. His father, Bob, played under Tom Osborne in the 80s. He's actually in the Nebraska Hall of Fame for football. A very good offensive lineman, and Sam's coming into a program that his dad played for, and a program that he always wanted to be a part of. He had some other offers from Miami, Ohio, and Kansas, so not super highly recruited, but a 3-star nonetheless. And anytime you're able to keep a son of a former Husker and an in-state kid coming back to Nebraska is always good. 6'4", 270. He'll have to probably bulk up a little bit, but that'll come as he continues to get a little bit older.
Yeah, absolutely. 6'4", he's got a good frame on him. Definitely gonna have to bulk up once he gets into that college weight room. Like a lot of offensive linemen are rarely ever ready. But, bringing in a guy who's son of a former player, especially under Tom Osborne, you can't have enough of those guys. Guy that loves the program, obviously grew up stabbed as a player for him. So,
yeah, and his dad's actually his coach at Creighton Prep too. So that always helps out. And I'm sure Dad probably had a pretty big influence in getting him there. But yeah, that'll be good. I'm excited for him to get to Lincoln. But we'll hop over to OU. They got some money they're getting ready to spend. They got a $300 million renovation in the works, in the rumors. You'll know a little bit more about that than I would, so we'll jump over to you. And what do they got going down there in Norman?
Yeah, there's been some rumors going around for probably 3-4 weeks now. People just throwing around large amounts of money. I've heard variations from 250 million to 300 million, somewhere in there. A lot of that's going to be stuff in the Switzer Center, training rooms, hot tubs, cold tubs, things like that. Things that players can use and take advantage of. I think maybe something will be in the stadium. Not really sure yet. Obviously, no official announcements. Like you said, just rumors at the moment. But sounds like they're trying to get a lot of stuff done with this new staff. And obviously, the fans are reinvigorated after the way Lincoln Riley left. So see what they can get done. In addition to that, spring football coming up around the corner. Ethan Downs' dad announced on Twitter that the spring game is going to be April 23rd, and it should be an interesting spring game. New coaching staff, obviously. So, going to be a lot of competition, things like that. Plus 2 new systems, excuse me. So, should be really interesting. Obviously, a lot of new faces, but the transfers coming in as well. So, we'll see what the spring game looks like as well. Because under Lincoln, they were pretty vanilla always, because he never wants to put anything out there. And Bob, his spring games were just kind of hard to follow because of the format, and it was just strict offense versus defense. It wasn't like a real game. So we'll see what it looks like.
Yeah, obviously it's going to be a very, very big spring game for OU. Anytime you got a new coaching staff coming in, and then also a lot of new faces coming in, and a lot of guys that aren't coming back, obviously. There's going to be a lot of early playing time that's won and lost in this game, I think. And I think OU fans are excited to see, the first game under Brent Venables. It'll be good. But when you're jumping back over to that renovation rumors, you got the move to the SEC coming up, and obviously OU's facilities for all sports are incredible. Anytime you're a name like Oklahoma, you have incredible facilities, but you're making that jump to the SEC, and you got to kind of take it up another level. And that might be why they're looking to put some money back into their athletics. So, but a lot of big things, I think, for OU this coming up here soon and headed into the spring.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of a little bit of an arms race, really, is how I would probably best describe it going to the
Yeah.
SEC. Also coming up around the corner, they're obviously just doing winter workouts right now. They've got a junior day coming up, which for those of you out there that don't know, junior day is just kind of a recruiting event for younger guys, able to get some guys on campus, talk with the coaches and stuff like that. So that's coming up on March 5th. So could get some commitments out of that. So we'll stay up to date on that. And I think we'll
Yes.
hop into baseball now,
Yeah.
unless you've got
We'll
something
go.
else to add.
No, I was just going to touch up on junior day. It's big for any program, all
Yeah.
schools. Yeah, that's where recruiting I think really starts getting heavy is on that junior day.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll jump over to baseball. We'll start with Nebraska first. Man, a disappointing weekend. You head down to Sam Houston State. They got a great program down there, and you knew it wasn't going to be easy. You're looking to get a series win as always, but I think, if you walk out of there 2-2, I think you're probably pretty content. But man, it was just not a good weekend. You go 1-3 versus Sam Houston. That's just not what you're looking for, especially being the Big Ten favorite. You don't have to be hot right now, but you also don't want to get the season started in a bad way. Your hitters strike out 43 times in 4 games. One of those games being 7 innings. In a doubleheader, not good. That's just way too many strikeouts. That's too many outs you're just giving away. Those aren't productive outs. And then even in the one game you win, things still go wrong. You bring in your closer Jake Buns, and he throws a couple pitches and is grabbing his elbow coming out of the game. He had Tommy John in 2019. Recovered from that and was supposed to be a big arm out of the bullpen this year for Nebraska. And you lose him. Will Bolt has come out and said his quote, "We won't know anything until we get it looked at, but hopefully it's something that just scared him a little bit." I find that to be an interesting quote. It sounds like maybe it wasn't anything too serious and that, we'll just see what happens. But anytime you've already had Tommy John and then you immediately grab your elbow and come out of the game, that's just never what you're looking for. And then, as I mentioned, a key piece in that bullpen, the starters this weekend, your 4 starters combined to go 10 1/3 innings. That's not very good. You're hoping to get 10 1/3 innings out of probably 2 starters, and that was the combined for all 4 this weekend. Yeah. And then, when your starters aren't that good, you got to rely on a good bullpen. And then one of your best arms out of the bullpen gets hurt. It just wasn't a productive weekend. But, a lone bright spot, Luke Jessen, a true freshman out of Elkhorn South. He went 7 for 11 this weekend, all singles. But anytime you're able to put up 7 hits in your first college series, that's very impressive, especially as a true freshman. But a disappointing weekend and looking to bounce back. And they got a good opportunity this weekend. They head down to Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas, home of the Texas Rangers, brand new ballpark there. They have number 17 TCU. So all 3 games there, neutral site. Obviously, Arlington just hosted the college baseball, State Farm College Baseball Showdown, which OU just played in. So they're getting some more action at that place. And you got a big name program in a MLB stadium, and you got to go get 2 out of 3. I think after going 1-3 here against Sam Houston, you got to get 2 out of 3. I think against TCU and get everything moving on the right track, and just really prove to not only the writers that are putting you in the rankings, but also just to yourself that you can hang with the big dogs, because this is a team that is expected to make a deep run in June and into the College World Series. And you've got TCU, obviously, who's been in the College World Series a number of times in the past, 10, 15 years, and ranked 17th in the country. This is a great opportunity to get things headed in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, disappointing start, and TCU is it's a tough series. Obviously, really good, like you said, over the last 10, 15 years. OU opened up down there in Globe Life as well.
Yeah.
They went 2-1, 3-0 win over Auburn, 14-4 L against number 15 Arizona, and then they ended it with a 6-1 win over Michigan. Pitching was definitely a little bit of a question mark, particularly against Arizona. 14 given up, 5 in the third, 7 in the 7th, and that's just never a recipe for success, especially against a good team like Arizona.
Yeah, for sure. We have on here on our notes pitching with a question mark next to it because that's kind of what it was. You go down there and you're able to get 2 out of 3 against those teams. That's an A+ weekend there. That's all you're trying to do is go out with a series win against some very high caliber teams. And you shut out one, and then against Michigan, you only give up 1. Man, that's awesome. That's incredible. That is a huge tip to the pitching staff there. You guys did your job. And then you look at that middle game, and it's 14-4, and you give up 7 in the 7th, 5 in the 3rd, 7 in the 7th. Like that bullpen, that makes me worry a little bit. I know it's just one game, and that happens. You're playing Arizona, ranked team, very, very good team in the Wildcats there. But I think maybe the question mark is just limiting the big innings. You threw 23 scoreless innings. That should be 3 wins. That should be 3 wins. They scored in 4 innings. Their opponent scored in 4 innings. That's incredible. That's a great pitching staff, but it's limiting the big innings. It's tough to win a game when you give up 5 and 7. I mean, you give up 5 in an inning, it's tough to score 5 runs in a baseball game. I mean, if you put up 6 runs on offense, you expect to win. And then you're giving up 5 runs in 1 inning, and you're basically just hoping that your pitching staff shuts them out the rest of the game. That's just kind of the question mark there. I think is going to be limiting the big innings. And when you get into trouble, finding a way to get an out and limit the damage, maybe just give up 1 or 2 versus obviously 5 and 7.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously pitching was a big question mark on that team last year for Oklahoma. So those big innings they really make you worry, especially coming off of last year. But coming into the midweek, they took on Wichita State today, beat them 6-2 at home opener. It was really cold outside, 37 degrees at first pitch, but they played well. 11 stolen bases, and 3 guys had 3 stolen bases. OU hasn't had a guy with 3 stolen bases since 2012, I believe, is what they said, and they had 3 today. Obviously played really well. Only gave up 2 runs. It's a really good win midweek, coming off a good start to the season.
Yeah, for sure. As you mentioned, a freezing cold game, and I think that might have been in the game plan, steal bases, because it's never easy to throw runners out or be quick to the plate as a pitcher when you're just fighting to stay warm. So as you mentioned, 3 guys with 3 stolen bases, obviously very incredible on their behalf, but not only just stealing the bases, but being able to get on 3 times in a game is a huge asset. And I mean, 11 stolen bases. At some point, you got to be sitting in the dugout as Wichita State's head coach Eric Wedge, just wondering what's going on. And Wichita State, obviously, an incredible baseball program. One of the best in the Midwest. And then you have 11 bases stolen on you. That just shows how dynamic this OU offense is, and they'll get to carry it on this weekend. They get Northwestern State out of Louisiana. They get them coming to Norman. They get them at home. I believe the weather's supposed to warm up a little bit this weekend, so they won't be dealing with that. But you're just looking to carry that momentum and get 3 for sure. This should be at least bare minimum 2-1, and I think your ultimate goal is to get a sweep.
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially in the Big 12, you got to win those early non-conference games, rack them up for NCAA tournament chances when you're playing teams like Texas, Texas Tech, TCU, Oklahoma State. You got to win these early season games, and I think the goal has to be to take 3.
Yeah, for sure. You got to win your non-conference if you're going to be getting an at-large bid. But this team was picked 6th in the Big 12 and went and shoved it to Auburn and Michigan and Wichita State. That just shows you how good the Big 12 is. They're picked in the bottom half, but this isn't a bottom half team, especially with the way they're playing right now. This might be a sleeper team that finishes in the top 3 or 4 in the Big 12, and maybe makes some ruckus. So good start, hot start. I like where they're going from here.
Absolutely. And we'll switch over to softball for just a second on the OU side. Obviously, if they continue winning, really good. They blew out McNeese State 2 times. Um, we've got here in the notes, best team ever, possibly. Obviously, the last few years they've last year they got to Georgia midseason. It was just kind of a COVID scheduled game. Scheduled it, added it on late, and they dropped it. They ended up dropping another one to Oklahoma State later in the season. But you got to think this team has potential to be unbeaten with how explosive that offense is.
Yeah, they're really good, and I mean, it doesn't even look like they're playing the same level. Like, it looks like they're playing high school teams. I mean, they're literally walking in, scoring 15 runs, not giving up a single run. Play 5 innings and get out of there. When you go to watch an OU softball game, their games aren't 7 innings; their games are 5 innings, and it's going to get out of hand quick. Jocelyn Allo was able to tie the career home run record. She does kind of have that COVID year in there as well too. So obviously what she's doing is just incredible. And it seems like pretty much every other at bat she's just hitting an absolute nuke.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they're probably one of the best softball teams ever, and it's early. Like, you mentioned they've had incredible teams in the past, and obviously Patty Gasso just runs an absolute machine down there. But if they continue playing like this, I don't know that they'll get beat. I mean, and if they do get beat, it might be once, twice, maybe 3 times at the most. Like, yeah, they're really good. They're really good. So that's just about it. It's about all you can say.
There's really nothing else to add.
Yeah, I mean, that it's almost like the games aren't even fun to watch because they're not even close. Like, they just show up, hit a bunch of nukes, strike everybody out, and go home. So, but we'll hop it over to the Huskers softball team here. They had a pretty good weekend. They had a kind of disappointing weekend when they were up in Northern Iowa. Maybe lost some games they should have won, but they bounced back this weekend. They were in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and they were able to pick up 4 out of 5 down there. They got 3 games won by a run rule too, which is obviously very good. They scored 46 runs in 5 games. Billy Andrews and Sydney Gray both hit 4 home runs in 5 games. This looked like a winning softball team for sure. Anytime you're able to win 3 games by a run rule is very good. They got beat by Southeastern Louisiana 2-0, which maybe, is a game they should have won. But then turned around and ended up run ruling them later in the tournament. So, anytime you do drop a game, the last thing you want to do is get beat twice by the same team. And when you're able to turn it around and not only beat, but I'm pretty sure they run ruled them as well in that game, that's obviously is a statement to being a good team. Good teams don't lose to a school twice. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And for a team that was 500 last year, I believe, to score 46 in 5 games and go 4-1 on the weekend, racking up wins in non-conference, really makes you feel good about direction of the program right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anytime you go, you take a trip down to New Mexico and finally get some warm weather and pick up 4 out of 5. That's a happy. I don't know if they flew or drove, but that's a happy trip back. So yeah. So we'll move it over to the basketball team here at Nebraska. They actually, let me look. We're playing, and I have not seen the final score, and they did lose. I saw they were down earlier. Lost 77-65 tonight to Northwestern at Northwestern. Northwestern, obviously not the best basketball team in the world. Kind of down there in the bottom of the Big Ten. A game we probably, should have won, or not really should have won, but should have been, closer. But Fred Hoiberg, he was sick tonight. I did see that, and that he had tested negative for both the flu and COVID, but just wasn't feeling well. And that he was coaching tonight, but was letting the assistants kind of call the shots. But tonight, they lose again. Earlier this week, they played Maryland, lost 90-74. And it's just kind of the same thing that we've said all year. It's defense. I mean, when you score 74 points in a college basketball game, that usually puts you in a pretty good spot to win. But when you give up 90, you're not going to win many games. Having to score 91, that's just not a recipe for success. You give up 46 points in the paint earlier this year. I believed I we touched on it last episode, gave up 50 to Iowa. And then that game that they actually beat Minnesota only gave up like 20 or 22 or something. So it seems like the defense in the paint is just kind of the Achilles heel of this team. I mean, the defense has been all year, but I mean, when you're giving up 46 points in the paint, I mean, it's just too many. But in that game against Maryland, Bryce McGowan's, he scores 25 on 5 of 14 shooting. So he wasn't really too hot shooting, but he was able to knock down 14 of his 15 free throws. Anytime you're getting to the line 15 times, and your best player is getting a line 15 times and knocks down 14 of them, that's awesome. That's exactly what you're looking for. But, you also want him to shoot a little bit better than 5 of 14. So it's just kind of one thing stacking up on top of another. And I don't know, you got a couple games left to close the year. I don't know. I mean, are they going to win another one? Probably not. I mean, at this point, you're just not betting on them. It's been a disappointing year, and we'll see what happens. So, but you got anything on that on the Huskers?
I would just say, like, when your best player gets to the line 15 times and makes 14 of them, you got to feel good about your chances to win the game.
Yeah.
But kind of like Iowa last week, when the other team's scoring half the points in the paint, it's just not a recipe for success. And especially when half is 46 of 90 that they scored, it's tough to score 90 points in college basketball. And if you're giving up 90, you're not winning 9 times out of 10, more than likely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So disappointing year there, but we'll move over to the women's team. We got some news out of there. It's been an interesting week. Assistant coach Love is suspended indefinitely from the team, as well as Ashley Scoggin removed from the team. She has actually entered the transfer portal, not surprisingly. Nebraska hasn't really announced much of what has happened there. They've just kind of said it is a personal matter, but it's just never a good look when your assistant coach is suspended and then one of your girls is removed from the team. That's just never a good look. And especially at this point in the year too, when you're a team that has a winning record and is a tournament team, and you're headed down the stretch into probably the most important games of the year. And that is what happens. I mean, that destroys locker rooms, that destroys teams. And it's also, I mean, you're also just losing another body in a coach to help run things at practice and games and everything. So yeah, that, and we don't want to speculate at all either, because they haven't announced officially why either one has been removed. But you just, especially on a women's basketball team, that's just never what you like seeing. And he actually was not present on the sidelines for their loss to Penn State. They lost 83-76 there. He was not on the sidelines for that. And then after that game is when he was suspended, or at least the announcement had been made. But they played Minnesota, and they were able to beat Minnesota 93-70. Scoring 93 points in a game, especially women's basketball, that's going to win you a lot. Alexis Markowski wins her 7th Big Ten Freshman of the Week award. I got to imagine that'll probably make her Big Ten Freshman of the Year. She's been incredible, especially as a true freshman, being able to lead a team. They're projected 7th seed. Hasn't changed. It was updated earlier this morning, and last week they were 7, and then again this week still had them at a 7 seed. So hopefully they're able to stay hot and stay hot into conference tournament and March Madness time. Yeah,
absolutely. Obviously, difficult thing for a team. They've got a few top 10 wins, and to lose an assistant coach and one of your players this late in the season, it can be really, really difficult to keep a locker room together, not divide everybody. So we'll see how they can handle that. But we'll go ahead and flip it over to the OU basketball side now. And the men it's been rough the last few games. They are now 9th in the Big 12 and are now into the first 4 out in most bracket projections. Elijah Harkless goes down, season-ending injury. I believe it occurred during the Texas game, but he finished that game out. And I believe Porter Moser said he just felt some discomfort after the game. They checked it out, and I believe it's a knee injury, which is just never good, especially in basketball. But when you lose a guy that's probably your best two-way player, really good, intense defender, and gets you 10 points a game on a team that really struggles to score, it's a big deal. And But on the bright side, he did announce he's returning. Kind of left it open to interpretation. Didn't specifically say Oklahoma, so maybe enters the transfer portal after the season. We'll have to see how that goes. But that was just leading up to the Iowa State game, which we said it last week. They needed to win 3 out of their last 5. And without Harkless going up to Ames, who's got, I believe, 7 quad 1 wins this season, which is probably top 5 to 6 in the entire country, just not a good way to go up there. They dropped that game 75-54. Iowa State shoots the ball 67%. Jacob Grobe started in place of Elijah Harkless, and he went 4 for 7 with 11 points. He hit 2 threes early, looked like maybe he was going to be the hot hand, but just kind of fell off a little bit as the game went on. Mo Gibson was just a ghost again. He can't get anything going offensively right now. And I know earlier in the season, Harkless was kind of having a rough patch, and Porter Moser sent him to the bench for a couple games, and he was coming off the bench. I'm kind of getting to the point where maybe you got to do the same thing with Mo Gibson, because he had that 30-point game against Tech. He can obviously get hot in a hurry, but it's 2-3 games in a row now where he's not getting anything done offensively.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost like he hit that 30-point game, and then he just used all of his offensive ability for the whole year that game. I mean, has he even scored 10 points since then?
I do not believe so.
Yeah, which like what happens? I mean, obviously you don't have to be scoring 30 every night. There are games where you're going to score 10. There's games where you're going to score 6. There's games where you're going to score 20. But when you're not even putting up 5 points a game since dropping 30, and now especially with one of your better players on the team out for the year, somebody's got to step up. Somebody's got to step up and make shots. And a guy who's already done it and stepped up and made 30 in a game, you gotta be that guy. You got to kind of take that upon you and realize that the spotlight's on you now, and you got to be putting up numbers now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely think teams are defending him a little differently after that outburst against Tech, but you got to find ways to manufacture offense for him. But if he's not moving and he's not getting open, then there's really nothing you can do, and you got to figure out another way to go. But they really had no answer. We got here in the notes, only 2 points from the bench up in Ames, and anytime you're playing a Big 12 team on the road, that's never going to get it done. Obviously, Jacob Grove started in place. He's usually a bench player, but it's just never a winning recipe. And tonight they played at Texas Tech. Obviously, they beat them by 15 when they were up in Norman. Tonight was the complete opposite. They lose 66-42. They ended the first half with a 3-minute and 54-second scoring drought, which spilled over into the beginning of the second half, where they didn't hit a shot until the 15-minute mark. That's almost 9 minutes of game time without a bucket. And Tech they looked off in the first half. They weren't shooting the ball particularly well either. It was 29-22 at halftime. And you think, we're not shooting the ball well, but Tech's struggling to shooting, and that's how it was in Norman. Maybe we can make it run here. But you come out and you don't score a bucket in the first 5 minutes, and Tech just kind of takes life out of you.
Yeah, for sure. You got to be going in a half like, yeah, we didn't play well, but they're not playing well either. And I've said it before in previous episodes. Great teams find a way to win when they're not playing their best, and I think that's kind of been the OU story this whole year, is that they haven't played their best all year, which nobody does. Nobody plays their best A game all year. But the great teams find a way to win when you don't have things rolling. When you lose Elijah Harkless, when one of your better players is out for the year, guys step up and guys find a way to win. You don't lose close games; you win the close games. And it just seems like nobody has stepped up, and nobody has really kind of wanted the spotlight on them. But yeah, it's tough when you score 42 points in a game. That will win you almost zero games in college basketball. You look at your defense headed in a half, and you've only given up 29. That puts you in a great spot to win. But 22, and then you score 20 in the second half, and you finish with 42. That's going to win you almost no games. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just kind of that same story. There's just not a guy that's going to go get you a bucket. So you just look down the stretch here. They've got 3 games remaining. They probably need to win all three if they want to have a shot at making the NCAA tournament. They've got Oklahoma State at home on the weekend on Saturday, and then they've got West Virginia at home on next Tuesday, and then they'll finish up on the road in Manhattan against Kansas State. And I mean, both those home games are winnable, but
all three are winnable.
yeah,
Somebody steps
absolutely.
up. Somebody's got to step up. So,
but you give up 42 or you score 42, excuse me, and it just, yeah. I mean, the LNC hasn't really been packed, or it really never is a great atmosphere, to be completely honest. Coming off a game where you score 42, I got to imagine there won't be a lot of people there, especially when you're playing at 11 a.m. on Saturday. And I'm just kind of looking for solutions, really. CJ Noland, he's a true freshman, 0 points against ISU. You think you got to get him involved because he's a really good player, I think. He's just a true freshman, and it's difficult for a lot. I mean, outside of the top 10, 15 kids that come in every year, there's not a lot of true freshmen out there doing a lot of things in college basketball. So you just can't really have him step up. You could go with two bigs, which I've seen discussed a little bit. They did that against Tech in the first meeting with Ethan Chagua and Tanner Groves, and they did it a little bit against Texas, and it seemed to work for him. But obviously, when you lose Harkless and you got Jacob Groves out there, he's kind of an in-between guy. You can't really have three big guys who aren't super athletic out there at the same time and expect to win a basketball game. So we'll see how they finish out this season here, but you're going to have to get some more talent in. They've got a pretty good recruiting class coming in, including Otego Away, who's the brother of NFL first-round draft pick Odafe Away, who ran a 4.37 40 at 6'5", 250, which, I mean, that's good genes. He's going to be an athlete. Will he be ready initially? We'll see. He's probably going to have to be, the way things are looking right now. And then Milos Uzan, another point guard, number 100 player in the country, offers from Arizona, Texas Tech, and USC. Obviously, some very good basketball programs. Another promising guy. And then Benny Schroeder out of Germany. There's just not a lot out there on him. I think I've seen one YouTube video of him playing basketball, and it looks like they're playing in a middle school gym. I know he's 6'7" from Germany. He averaged 16 points a game in a FIBA U18 competition in the summer of 2021. So we'll see. You never know with international players. So we'll just see how it goes and see who they can get out of the transfer portal, because there's no doubt they're probably going to have to hit the transfer portal pretty hard again this upcoming offseason.
Yeah, and that seems to be kind of the trend, not just basketball, for all sports, obviously, the transfer portal being bigger and bigger and bigger every year. But yeah, I mean, this is what seems to be a pretty average team this year. I think you got a good recruiting class, I think, can take this team from average to being a good team. So, you know, I said it just a few minutes ago, somebody's got to step up. And if it's one of these guys coming in next year, you know, for next year's team to step up, then it's just got to be that way. So we'll see it. I mean, you know, you got a guy coming from Germany. You never know. That's always, you know, no matter the sport, it's always kind of hit or miss when you got foreign kids coming in. It's just a different level of competition, different level of atmosphere and everything. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and switch it over to the women's basketball team now. They've dropped 3 games in a row on a little bit of a slide. They've lost to Texas, Texas Tech, and Iowa State. Iowa State obviously top of the Big 12. They're 4th in the Big 12 rankings now. Probably not going to be able to compete the rest of the way for the Big 12 regular season title. They're still slotted as a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament as of this morning. They've got 4 games left against unranked opponents. You got to finish strong. You got to win those 4 games, and then see if you can make some noise in the Big 12 tournament. It's obviously a very difficult conference women's basketball. You got Baylor, Texas, Iowa State, but I mean, those are teams they've beaten this year. So we'll see how they can finish up the season.
Yeah, they need to win all 4, I think, if they want to stay a 3 seed. Still as a 3 seed, I think is probably a little bit surprising to me. I think I could see them maybe start to fall down a little bit, but that doesn't mean they're not a good team. This is still a very good team, and every team goes through, you know, a down or a rough patch throughout the season, but you don't want it to be right now. Hopefully, you know, you drop those 3, come back, win 4, do some damage in the Big 12 tournament, and you're hot at the right time. this is not the time to be cold. And that's kind of the trend they've had. They've been trending down a little bit. They got to find a way to flip it around, but you got a pretty easy, rest of the schedule to finish out. You got to capitalize on it and turn things around.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see how they finish the season. Obviously, keep a close eye on that. And we'll switch it over to golf now. OU Golf, coming off the Puerto Rico Classic, moves up to #1 in the country. And no surprise after really, really good showing in Puerto Rico. This weekend, they've got the Southern Highlands Collegiate coming up out in Las Vegas, Nevada. So we'll see how that goes for them.
Yeah, they've got the best team in the country. They obviously had a very, very strong performance down in Puerto Rico, and get to show it again here, headed into Las Vegas. They're going to be really good. We said it last weekend or last week, and I'll stand by it. This is, I think, the best team in the country. They're loaded top to bottom. They're not super top heavy or super bottom heavy. They're pretty even. Your 1 is really strong and your 5 is really strong. And this is it's a complete team. And you saw Welch go low and break the school record, and I don't think he's the best player on the team. It's not your 1 going out and shooting the school record. What is he? He's probably the 3 for that OU team, I think, behind Goddard and Logan McAllister. They're complete. They're complete, and they're old and they're composed, I think. They've been there and done that. And obviously when you're around that program, that's just kind of what's expected of you. The team's legit. They can really swing it. So
yeah, absolutely. We'll follow them throughout the season. Obviously, it's a match play format. Anything can happen in match play. You just never really know. Somebody gets hot at the right time. Like last year, Garrett Reban went cold at the end of the year.
Yeah.
We'll just see how they finish up. They've got, I want to say, 4 more regular season tournaments, and then they'll turn to the Big 12 tournament and see what they can do there.
Yeah. I think they're going to do some damage this year, as always. And the thing about golf, you're not playing every single weekend. You don't get to see I say a ton of golf. But that's just the nature of the sport. They're good though. They're really good. So we'll jump on over to Nebraska golf here. I don't really know what to say. They had the Husker alumni duel in the desert down in Scottsdale at Desert Mountain in True North on the schedule. And I haven't really seen anything about it. Nothing on the website, nothing on their social media pages about it. So I don't know that they, didn't play. I don't know. I haven't seen really anything on it. It says, an alumni duel. So I'm sure, not really an official collegiate event, but still, I figured we would see something a little bit about that, and just didn't. So they're back down in Arizona, I believe. Not this coming weekend, but next weekend for the Desert Mountain Intercollegiate, where they're at Desert Mountain again. Beautiful place down there in Scottsdale, Arizona, playing the Outlaw course. Obviously, especially with the way the weather is right now, you're not playing much golf in Nebraska. So, it's kind of the same way for the baseball team, really. Any outdoor sport, you're able to get your work done inside on simulators and, off turf and everything. But once it's time to put the spikes in the ground and go play, it's a little bit different. It's a different environment, and you go down there and play, and then you fly back, come back up, and you're stuck back inside again because it's 20 degrees outside. So we'll see how things go there. You're able to get your swings in, but it's just not the same. It's not the same environment, and schools in the South like OU and OSU and Texas and powerhouses down here. Arizona State, obviously, phenomenal golf program down there. It's in the South because you're able to get out and play every day, every weekend. I follow Arizona State golf on Instagram, and every day they're posting stuff of their guys out working outside, and it's just a different environment. When you're able to hit balls off of grass versus off of turf. it just sets up for a different environment. So it's going to be tough for them, I think. But anytime you're able to get out, beats not going down south and you're stuck until April up here. But I mean,
Yeah, we'll just kind of see how they go. If maybe we can get some more information out of that program.
yeah, I honestly, like, I looked and I mean, they got nothing on their website and their Twitter. They haven't posted since like the Big Ten match play stuff. I don't know. I mean, I know it's an alumni thing, but I figured they would have at least said something. Especially when you're in Arizona, I figure maybe make a post about it. But I feel bad not having anything to say, especially when it's on it's the first thing in the spring they had. But yeah, I don't know. So, and I don't know if they're staying down there. I'm not really sure. I mean, you're playing back-to-back tournaments down there in Scottsdale. Do you fly down there and stay down there? I don't really know. I would think so. I don't know why you would fly down there for 2 days, play your tournament, and then come back just to fly right back down there again. But also you got classes. So I don't know. I mean, they don't play this weekend. I believe it's not until the weekend after. So yeah, I don't know. That's interesting, but we'll have to get a little bit more information on their schedule and everything and see what's going on. I don't know. It's really weird. So, but overall, a really, really busy weekend for college athletics. College baseball, Division I at least started up this weekend. Saw some good upsets. Long Beach State takes the series against Mississippi State. Bryant sweeps East Carolina, which you had that kind of controversial, time call there on the, walk-off home run by East Carolina. But it's good to see baseball being played for sure this weekend. And looking forward, one of the fortunate things about baseball is not only is it on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but you got teams playing Tuesday, Wednesday, and sometimes even Monday and Thursday if the schedule allows for it. It's pretty much on every day, and so you're able to watch college athletics every day of the week this time of year, whether it's baseball, softball, basketball playing, and not only just in the fall you've got just Saturdays, but FCS games and small school games don't really get televised much. This time of the year, they're showing everything. I mean, you got, for these sports, there is no FBS. It's just Division I. And you're getting to see all levels, all conferences, everybody get to play. And I think that's one of the, the good things about the spring is that you get to see, I don't want to say a much more level playing field, but I mean, Nebraska baseball goes down and to Sam Houston State and gets the series taken from them by Sam Houston State. I mean, Sam Houston State isn't doing that in football. Well, they might this year with Nebraska, but I mean, that's just one of the things I love about some of these sports outside of football and basketball. You got mid majors that are just as good, and the level of competition is a lot more even across the board. Everybody complains it's the same teams every year in college football, same teams, Bama, OU, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson every year. Watch these other sports. I mean, because you're going to see these teams, even the powerhouse teams get beat by mid majors, and that's just one of the things that personally I love a lot about not just baseball, but softball and even a little bit into basketball headed into March. You're getting to see some different teams, and it's just a really exciting time of the year. As you can tell, I'm just going on and on about it. February, March is probably one of my favorite times of the year for athletics.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how some of these teams carry in over the weekend with OU and Nebraska baseball. And then obviously OU basketball has a big 3-stretch game coming up. They got to get hot in a hurry. So we'll see how it goes for a few of these teams here.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to follow, especially with basketball heading into the thick of the year. Some really, really important games. You don't have time to drop any meaningless games. They all mean a lot now. And even if you're OU being on the bubble, hot teams are going to get in before a team that is just kind of limping in. So you want to be hot headed in, and OU maybe not trending in the right direction for it right now. So You got a couple games to get hot and hopefully in the Big 12 tournament, maybe able to do something there and stay hot. So it'll be interesting to see. Selection show really just coming up in just a couple weeks now, really.
Yep.
So what, probably three or 4 weeks now? What are we? Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Something like that.
3-ish
Something.
weeks.
Yeah. Something pretty soon here. So yeah, that's exciting. Love this time of the year. So, all right. Well, that'll wrap it up for this episode. We appreciate you guys watching and listening on YouTube and SoundCloud both. We'll be back again next week, likely covering kind of the same stuff, just kind of sports from all over. So thank you guys for listening, and we will see you again next week.